The B-25 was a bomber used during World War II. The bomber was equipped to carry 3,000 pounds of bombs, and it had anywhere from 12 to 18 50 caliber machine guns. Powering this beast was two Wright R2635 engines with a total of 1,700 horsepower on takeoff. This plane was also equipped to carry torpedoes or 8 high-velocity missiles or rockets. This plane was equipped to carry 6 crew members. There were pilot, co-pilot, bombardier, turret gunner, engineer, radio operator, waist gunner, and a tail gunner. The war in the Pacific was started due to Japan wanting to expand further into Asia in search for more resources. In order to keep the United States out of the war for a little while, they bombed Pearl Harbor. They damaged the United States fleet in order to keep them from interfering with their expansion for resources. After their attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese had multiple successes taking Wake Island, Guam, the Philippines, along with other Pacific islands. The Doolittle raid occurred, and it worked because the Americans hadn't had a major attack against Japan, and this was a total surprise.
A famous bombing run that the B-25 was a part of was the Doolittle raid. This was basically a suicide mission in which they would launch the B-25s off an aircraft carrier, and after the bombing run they wouldn't have enough fuel to make it back to the carrier. They would have to land somewhere in the middle of Asia. The mission commander was Lieutenant Colonel James H. Doolittle. His first task was to select the right aircraft. He knew he needed a plane that was compatible with taking off at short distances with heavy weight. He analyzed the data, and the B-25 was the right plane for him. They would carry a payload of 2,000 pounds, and 16 of these planes would participate in the mission. Although he chose this plane, it wasn't perfect. They needed to modify the plane and take off anything that wasn't necessary. They needed a lot of extra fuel. There was a 200-gallon fuel tank added to the bomb compartment, 160-gallon tank in the crew corridor, and a 60-gallon tank replaced the machine gun, and they were equipped with 105-gallon carriers that would be added to the fuel tank through the flight. The engines were adjusted to be as fuel efficient as they possibly could. The crew for the flight was also hand-picked and trained to fly short distance, take off, and fly with great fuel efficiency. The target for these bombers was Tokyo. Doolittle was going to be the first pilot, and hopefully the fire from his bombs on Tokyo would guide the rest of his crew. They were to fly in 5 formations of 3 each. Their targets were industrial targets scattered all around Tokyo. Then they would land in China on a special airstrip. The attack that was originally scheduled for April 19th was adjusted on April 18th because of a patrol boat that was thought to have reported the carrier. The flight into Tokyo was a breeze. No enemy aircraft were met, and there was no anti-aircraft fire. Doolittle dropped his bomb in the center of Tokyo, and the other pilots bombed their targets. The raid so far was a success. But while flying through the night, they couldn't find the aircraft and jumped out of their aircraft. They found a Chinese man that brought them to a Chinese officer, and they sent the message home to Washington that the mission was a success. There was very little material damage to Tokyo, but it hurt their morale.